yeah, man. So another episode in the books. We'll see what you guys listen to and what you guys don't, because we have some technical difficulties. So it might be all soccer. It could be the fact that I hate base sports. We'll see what it is. But yeah, man, another episode in the books. Let's try to do another one this week, because I'll have to reset my internet right before we do it, like you said. But yeah, man, it was a good talk, man. We went a little sports heavy, which we haven't done in a while. You know what I mean? It's the beginning of college football, so it was interesting.
Yeah, man, I don't know if you can call it sports heavy. It was a lot of soccer talk, and I don't know if that straddles the line between, sports and depression, a hobby or depression.
Yeah,
again, that you called it soccer, not football.
Yes, yeah, and you know why.
A real sport.
And you know why.
Look, I want to like American football. I want to call it American. I mean, not American football, but U.S. men's national team football, and not soccer. I want to be proud to say I'm a fan, football, and that it's football. But
hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet.
No,
but
it's not.
We'll see how we'll see how they improve. They got another 4 years. I don't expect anything from them this World Cup.
They have to at least qualify.
Give them 4 years to develop.
Look, we're going more in depth in the podcast, but they're just missing something and don't know. We just can't put our finger on quite what it is. But yeah, man, I got nothing else as of right now. As soon as we're done and I hit this stop, you'll hear the Ant House beat introduction. What's up, man? What you got?
I got one thing. If you're a fan of L's, all the L's, ACLs, MCLs, you want to take the L home, go get on that ESPN app. If you have ESPN on your TV, your phone, whatever, pull up ESPN Plus and watch that Khalil Roundtree. And I don't know what his opponent's name was. I can't pronounce it. But just watch the Khalil Roundtree fight from this past weekend, and hit replay. And since we talked about Florida State, we went sports heavy. Yeah. Mackenzie Milton played first time since 2018.
Yes, sir.
Go back and watch that clip of when all his L's were destroyed.
You're a sick man.
Yeah. If you like the L's, ACLs and MCLs, or you like watching them get destroyed, go ahead and watch that for me.
No, we're not doing it. Don't listen to my co-host. Don't listen to my boy. No.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. Check out the intro. Peace.
Yo, what are you doing right now?
The big V. Look, man.
All right, man. Let's just jump right into this shit.
I made my wife wake up and drive me there anyway. ¿Es a major?
Pues con eso. Pues con español.
¿Qué pasó, papá? ¿Cómo estás? Any questions?
Now, when you bought that sweater, right? You just go, fuck it. I'm going full Mr. Rogers. You've tuned into the Man Chatter podcast. I always like to take a sip as soon as we hit that record button. Hey, man, cheers.
I'm sipping on something else.
What is that wine?
If you can see.
Are you drinking wine?
It's I don't want to spill it. It's Korean iced coffee.
What is that, bro?
It's essentially instant coffee. 2 tablespoons of non-dairy creamer and 1 tablespoon of honey, and then you just shake the hell out of it for about 30 to 60 seconds.
And ice,
protein shaker.
Gotcha.
And then you add the ice. It's delicious.
All right, I'm gonna have to try that one day. Probably not though. I'm a Death Wish loyalist. You know what I mean?
I'm a coffee connoisseur, coffee aficionado.
There it is. Aficionado.
I had to say it right because last time I effed it up.
Yeah, see, look at you. You were the first one about to cuss. Look at all right. Damn, yeah, I was hoping you would have done it. Hey, it wasn't gonna be how do you spell aficionado? Is it 2 F's or 1?
I don't know.
Is it?
I just know that you start the pronunciation with a U instead of an A. I was the Latino in me came out aficionado.
Did I tell you the story? I was talking with Danny, right? I was talking with him about the last show. I was like, yeah, man, when we talked about coffee, he's like, did I ever tell you? He's like, did I ever tell you the story of how I ruined my daughter's attempt at the English language? Because he's from Brooklyn, he's from New York. He goes, we get to the Q, and it's like, okay, what's a word that starts with Q? He goes, coffee. Like, no, honey, no, it's coffee. Coffee starts with a C. Because he says coffee, like water. I was like, oh, you're an idiot. I laughed so hard. No, yeah, he does.
Does he really?
He says coffee. Yeah, 100%.
Oh man.
I'm more emphasizing the.
How long has he been in Miami?
Or 95% of his life. But it only comes out in like water and coffee. Other than that, he sounds Miami is F. Miami AF.
So is he really a New Yorker then?
No, I mean his teams are, but his soccer team, which is in the MLS, isn't. But yeah, man, look, dude, I don't even want to get started on soccer yet. I'm not emotionally prepared for that rant. So let's start with the catch up as we always do.
That's how bad it is. You're calling it soccer.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't call it football. I can't. So yeah, man, you were traveling this past. Are you still traveling now, or are you back home?
No, man, I'm back in the dungeon. You see the background?
Yeah, I saw the dungeon. Yeah, for sure. Well, how was your trip, man? You went down to VA, right, for Labor Day?
I mean, it's about time I got out of the house. My wife, I thought she left me and she wasn't coming back. She's been all over the country. She went out to LA.
Yeah.
She was out in Cali, and then in Cali, she was over there. She was with Javi. They're going to Malibu and Hollywood Hills and all this stuff, like taking pictures and sending me videos. I'm like, oh, it must be nice. It must be nice.
By myself with the dogs.
With the dogs. Yeah, I'm here with the dogs. And then, she came home, hung out for about a week, and then she left me again. This time she left my son with me. She's like, yeah, I'm tired of that little jit, so I'm gonna leave him right there.
Things are freedom.
She went to VA for a couple of weeks, but weather was great, man. I went out there, and we're on the beach for like 4.5 hours, and just more kind of motivation to get out of Ohio, right? Because I'm trying to get to Florida, trying to expand my options as far as where I'm looking at, and being on the beach for like 4.5, 5 hours. Like, I didn't rest 1 minute. Like I maybe 5 minutes, and I exaggerated in the message I sent you, but 5-10 minutes at the most. But I was in the water, or we were throwing the football as soon as I left, like got out of the water, or then we were back in the water, throwing the football in the water, or we were playing football in the sand. Like, it was swimming or throwing a football, or running routes. And it was my son and I, and then other people that were there with us. They would like kind of rotate in and out.
Yeah.
So like some of the people that were in the water with me wouldn't follow me out to the sand and keep throwing the football or playing games. Like, no, I need a rest. I'm gonna get some of this fried Jollibee fried chicken. Shout out to Jollibee, the Filipino fast food brand. It's like McDonald's, but better. I didn't even have that. I didn't have the fried chicken until we got home. I was like, yo, I didn't eat. I'm starving. Let me get some of this fried chicken at like midnight.
All day. That's crazy.
But it was fun, man. Like, being in Florida, especially where I'm looking at, like on the Gold Coast, or not the Gold Coast, but the Space Coast.
Yep.
Melbourne area and all that stuff. Like, beach is 15 minutes away.
Yeah, can't beat that.
I got a little taste of that this weekend, and you know what? I wasn't even tired. Like, those 4 or 5 hours straight, I wasn't until I got home, right? On Saturday night, till I got home. That's when I was like, oh, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But I was good. I was like, damn, I do miss this. Like, I kind of took it for granted growing up in Miami that the beach was right there.
100%.
I grew tired of it.
Yeah, like because we did it so much, we're like, nah, I'm cool without going to the beach. Like, I haven't been to the beach now, probably want to say like 3-4 years, man. Like, since we moved here, we've gone to like lakes and shit and stuff like that. Yeah. But I haven't really done like the beach in a long time, man. Like, because we go kayaking, go snorkeling, do different stuff like that in the different springs around here. But to go to the beach, I can't. I don't know if I miss it, but like, I'll probably miss it once I'm back in it. I was like, oh man, I miss the ocean, because there's a feeling that the ocean gives you that nothing else gives you. Like, we remember the myths growing up, like, oh, if you're sick, go to the ocean, it'll clear you right up all the salt water. It just relaxes you and de-stresses you. It was like, 100%. So I need to get back to the beach. Maybe the next time I'm down in South Florida, I'll go down, because like Clearwater and the beaches up here are cool, but like the water isn't as nice and clear as as the one down in Miami when it's really clean and clear. So I have to check that out, see what's going on with that.
Yeah, look, this is how I know that we got to get back to Florida, because I remember I had an experience with a jellyfish back in the day. Like, I was 10, 11, and I remember the story. I was swimming. And the damn thing wrapped its tentacles around my arm, and it left like for maybe almost a year. Like, you could see the marks. Eventually, they went away, like the scars. So we were in the water, and Javi felt something on him. And I looked, and I was like, "Yo, get away!" And as I was saying that, he's like, "What?" He's like, "What is that? Is that a garbage bag?" It was huge jellyfish, and it got on his arm, but I think he touched like the top of it. He didn't touch anything that was it didn't do anything. He didn't get stung. Nothing happened.
Oh, lucky, bro.
But I said, yo, get out of there. I think it's like the size of Benjamin said. Like, it's enormous. I think
it's the biggest.
I don't know how you survive.
World record.
It looked like but his description was accurate. It looked like a garbage bag. It was huge,
that's what it looks
like a plastic bag.
Yeah, well,
And
because they're see-through, they're translucent.
He sprinted out. He's like, what? Ah! He's yelling. He went to throw the football. 10 minutes later, we're back in the water. He's like, whatever, we're good.
Yeah, hey, if you're ready, I'm ready to pee on you at any time, son. Like
I said, I don't see any lifeguard towers, so you know what's coming, right? You know,
I've been drinking.
It's not. We don't have any vinegar over here, so
no, yeah.
I'm just letting you know. Get ready.
I've been drinking plenty of water, been staying hydrated.
I got no fried chicken, but I've been drinking all these. What's this called? This electrolyte drink, Bodyguard Light. I think is what it's called.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say discovered it. No, I didn't discover anything, but I just saw it in the supermarket a couple of days ago. And then while watching US Open tennis, that's their sponsor.
Why would you be drinking Bodyguard? What? Listen, we don't.
It's what Gatorade should have been. It's what Gatorade should have been, by the way. Gatorade is nothing.
You mean Body Armor?
Or Body Armor. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Bodyguard.
Yeah. Bodyguard light.
Whatever, dude. You know what I wanted to say? Under Armour is what I almost wanted to say. Yeah, Body Armor.
Wasn't Body Armor?
That's what Gatorade should have been.
The Kobe drink. I think Kobe had that sponsorship. I think Kobe started that and made it popular. I might be totally wrong.
I don't know,
Feel free to use.
I've always been a fan of water and not a fan of anything else. You know, but Body Armor was all right.
Yeah, water is my go-to.
Shout out for sponsorships.
Yeah, that and Death Wish coffee be dope. Yeah, man. My weekend was a little crazy. Worked long days. Wednesday, Thursday.
Hold on. I didn't ask you about your weekend though.
I'm just gonna tell you. Yeah, no, 100% people care. If you look, I hate the fact that you're first on the logo. I don't talk about this enough, right? Because they put height because they had to. You know what I mean? I've told them, look, put the little person first because he has a complex. Make sure he's boosted up so he looks as tall as me, and also has eyebrows. Right? I looked out for you. I thought ahead, but the fact that you're there, yeah, because you don't have one.
The eyebrows are coming back.
No, they're not. That is not.
I have to get like right here, and then maybe
you should do like
it's all this light. It's all this light that's like washing them up.
You should really think about doing like a transplant from like your beard to your eyebrows if that's the thing you could possibly do.
That.
But yeah, so this weekend, stay home, work like crazy. I'm sitting, dude. I'm had an uneventful weekend for the most part. I'm sitting on my couch. Wife is crafting.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, I hear like this blood curdling scream coming from her. What the fuck's happening, dude? Hot glue. She was like, "Oh, you better not tell the story fucked up." Sorry, I cursed. But like, tell her how it actually happened. I was like, all right, of course, it was traumatic. So she's working on these stuff like these skulls. She's putting like eyes, like these little like fake diamond things into her eyes, into their eyes, like for her Etsy store, right? And so she has it in her hand. She's been doing it all day. Somehow the glue moved, right? Like the glue gun moved, and it fell right into her finger, right? And it's her right. I want to say her left hand, dude. This from here, right, to here, burning. It is completely blistered. It is the biggest blister I've ever seen in my life, dude. It is just, and we've had to put Neosporin on it, different gels, you know what I mean, to make sure it stays, because it's hot, right? To make sure it stays wet. Dude, it was terrifying. She's crying, freaking out, and I'm just trying to keep her. I had to run out to the store because we didn't have like burn cream or burn spray, so I had to run out to CVS, buy that. I bought like a first aid kit, gauze to wrap it. I was like, yo, we might have to go to the ER. Like that's a chemical burn. Like that's not like, you know what I mean? That's not like a regular little, I just burned my finger off some matches. She's like, no, we're not going to the, well, she said a little bit more aggressive. Like, no, I'm not going to the damn ER. If I go to the ER, I'm almost dead. I was like, that's a little excessive, but okay. So dude, like we've had to wrap it the last, Tuesday, the last like 3 days, because it happened Saturday. Right. It was nasty. It still is. And she's like, should I pop it? I was like, you should never pop a blister. You should never pop a burn blister, because that liquid that's in there is gonna burn. You're gonna get a huge scar. You gotta let it heal and flatten out on its own. Dude, it was nasty. Then the next day she's like, nah, I think I'm gonna keep crafting. So she keeps on crafting. And I was like, all right, because she doesn't know how to sit still. And like we're having like a discussion where I'm like, hey, why don't you just sit down and be humble and understand that you just got burned yesterday. You have a blister the size of another finger on your finger. So just sit down and enjoy it and just chill. Can't do it. She goes out to the stores, and dude, I wake up the next day and I'm mad nauseous. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm sick. I can't keep anything down. I was like, do I got the vid? Like I've been, you know what I mean? Like I don't know how it affects everybody differently. Like did I eat something wrong? Do I got food poisoning?
Right.
But all I eaten the day before was brisket. I was like, I was like, nah, I'm good. Like, dude, it was the worst I felt. Like I just felt nauseous. So that's why she went out on her own. So it was just a miserable weekend for the both of us. Terrible. So that's why, like, it was just rough, man. Like we didn't do, like I lost a couple pounds for sure. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't stay too far from the bathroom. But dude, it was miserable, dude. I'm not gonna go into graphic detail, but
please don't.
Yeah, I wasn't going to. It was miserable. It was just like I felt like embarrassed. I was like, I'm too grown to be getting like. I know, like, there's these moments where obviously like the injury and stuff like that, but there's these moments where like I'm too old to get like you know what I mean, like a stomach bug out of nowhere. Or is that like because I'm too old that I'm just gonna get a stomach bug out of nowhere? You know what I mean? Where like that's where the difference is. So while you were at the beach enjoying yourself, having a great time, my wife is blistered up.
Good old time.
Yeah, but just a blast of a time eating your Jolly Bean fried chicken. I'm over here trying to survive, and my wife's finger is damn near burnt off. That was our weekend. It was terrible.
How's she doing, man?
Dude, the blisters. The blisters. It's bad. Like it still looks like it just happened. It hasn't gone down at all. And she's got blisters because she tried to pick off the glue. So she's got blisters on like 2 or 3 other fingers. You know what I mean? Where she was trying to pick it off at instead of running it underwater. Because, you know, you're trying to get the glue off. It's hot, right? So she got a blister on other fingers. And then we're just running it under cold water. Put her hand in cold water. Let it, you know, submerge it in there. I run out to the store. She's a soldier, though. I mean, like, she wraps it up. She's like, she just can't, she can't bend. Like, she can't do this, right? Because this whole finger, like, it's at the both phalanges. Those are phalanges. Both of those joints are completely covered by blister. Like, the whole, from like here to here, dude. It's
look, at least, you know, that it happens, right? It was an accident. Things happen while she's crafting. I did that to myself. I think I told you about it when I went to Virginia, and the last time I went there a few months ago, and I was rope climbing on the beach because they have these ropes and they have like pull-up bars, and they have rings if you want to do like
on the beach.
Yeah, on the beach.
Okay, that's dope.
So I was there. I was doing like a 4-mile run or something, and then I didn't know this was after my 4-mile run. Just doing on the boardwalk on Oceanfront, Virginia Beach, and I saw the ropes, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Let me go climb these ropes." I saw this like couple of guys out there climbing. Like they were struggling, you know, they were struggling because they didn't know how to like these buff dudes, but they just didn't know technique, which is you just use all legs. You know, like you can use an S hook or you can use a J hook or different things that you learn when you're. I remember when I was at Campbell, but even before you go to Campbell or before you go to aerosol school or whatever, you like you learn some of the stuff, or maybe you don't. Who knows? But I saw them struggling. I was seriously afraid for them. I thought they were. You're on mute, by the way. I thought they were gonna fall off this rope because it was.
I never went to Campbell.
Yeah, it was all upper body. It was all like that's all they were using. I was like, oh man, these dudes are gonna like they're up like 40 feet in the air. They're gonna drop.
Yeah.
And so I went up there, bam, in a few seconds, climbed up the rope.
You're 130
Genius
pounds.
me.
Yeah.
Genius. Well, it's not because I'm 130 pounds. It's because I wasn't using my upper body. I just hooked. I just hooked the rope around my leg. I think I used the J hook to go up, and it was easy. Just use all legs, mostly legs, you know. And I got to the top. I had no shoes on.
Of course, yeah.
I slid down the damn rope.
Oh no, you didn't, John.
Friction burns over the top of my foot. And a little bit of my arms, but not so much my arms because like the rope was like I wasn't really gripping the rope. It was just like, okay, I slid. So just imagine 10 feet worth of friction burn, like a thick ass rope. Yeah, that was me. I had to deal with that. It's been a couple months. I still have the scars. Those things aren't going away anytime soon.
Probably not.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. That was stupidity on my part. I sure did. Yeah. Like on the top of my foot, and then like right on my ankle, on the front of the J. That's where it was. Yeah, because of the hook. Yeah, because I had my foot wrapped around it. Yeah, not fun times.
dude, accidents
Not a
happen.
fun time.
Like it was funny because like
Second degree burns, I believe I had.
yeah,
No, like it was bad.
I think that's what she has. The crazy thing is like earlier that morning, like we got up, you know, took my 4 cups of Death Wish coffee, sprinkled in a little bit of French vanilla. Took that to the dome. I could see sounds. I was like, yo, I'm about to Neo this whole situation. I had to fix
I'm about to break free.
Yeah, I took that. I talked to Morpheus. I didn't need no pill. I just unplugged and I'm in. Like, put me in the game, coach. I'm ready. No, Mr. Anderson all day.
Right.
Dude, so I like the door on my chicken coop, the ledge looking part, always keeps falling off because, you know, the rain. When I did it first, I didn't polyurethane it. You know what I mean? Like weatherproof it. So that'd been about 3 years. I just ended up doing, like, for a while, I did the lazy thing where I just flipped the side where the hinges were, you know what I mean? Like, and just flipped the hinge. I was like, I'll buy me a little time. Finally, it met the end of the road. It was the end of the road for that door. I had to make a whole new panel. So I use a couple parts of the old door and use all new, I think they weren't like 2x4s, it was like 1x4s. I cut up 4 pieces, had the measurements because I used the same. I just used one of the pieces of wood, use that as the standard. I was like, all right, cool.
Right.
I do that. And I go to drill the holes, and there's a little piece of wood, a smaller piece of wood that goes on the actual door or the chicken coop, goes on the bottom that works as the hinge for the wood that the hinge attaches to, right? So I'm pre-drilling the holes, and genius me, right? I'm using like a 1/4-inch drill bit. Genius me, as I'm done pre-drilling the holes, goes to grab the drill bit. Was not prepared mentally or emotionally for how hot that drill bit was. Because it's friction with the wood, right? Like it's because you're pulling it in and you're going in easy, but when you're pulling it out, it's a little bit more difficult, especially if you're at a slight angle. You're having to like maneuver it a little bit and pull it out. So that whole time, I didn't think it obviously clicked when I burned my fingers. But when I pulled it out, I was like, oh shit, and I just dropped it. I was like, all right, well, let me discard you real quick, dude. But I was like,
whoa, Mr. Roboto, man, you're breaking up a little bit.
Am I robotic?
Oh, you're back.
Am I robotic now? Be like T-Pain out here. Buy me a drink.
I know.
Yeah. So I burned my fingers with that, and obviously not as bad as my wife burned hers, but dude, we just were nonstop. Did that, put the chicken door. I had to polyurethane everything, stain it, do all that stuff to it, put it up because you know chickens poop all over everything. There's constant rain every afternoon, so I should have done it since the beginning. I would have been fine, but it's all good now. I did that and then painted the baseboards in this room. Finally, I still hate painting baseboard. I gotta ask you, John. This is a serious question.
That's why you should.
What is worse? This is a serious question, right? Like it's a stupid question, but a serious question. It's a stupid, seriously stupid question. Is it worse when you're pre-taping or when you're removing the tape? When you're painting?
Man, I don't know. It depends. Which one? Which one is going to frustrate you the most? When you remove the tape and you peel off the paint that you just painted, or you accidentally peel off paint from wherever?
Right here behind me, John. Right here behind me, when I was protecting the baseboard, that layer, that good little inch thickness of tape for about 1.5 feet just completely ripped off the paint. Now I got to repaint the wall.
Yeah,
that's
frustrating.
Dude, it is though. Because for a long time, I guess growing up, because very few times I guess I painted rooms before. Because most of the times, like I don't have to worry about baseboard. I'm just painting a wall. You know what I mean? Like doing the body of the wall. I don't worry about the trim. So, dude, like, I'd always pre-taped. I never removed tape for some reason. I don't remember ever doing it. And we did it, and it just ripped off a good section. Didn't do it anywhere else.
That's because the adults didn't trust you enough to remove the tape.
I'm good at like breaking stuff. I'm not. That's what I did there. So I got to repaint that. Just rooms just been like such a work in progress because so many different like sections of the baseboard, which I, again, just wanted to remove and break and destroy. But dude, it's painting sucks, man. I'd rather hang 1,000 shelves than paint, bro. I hate painting.
Well, if you hung that many shelves, I would need a really tall ladder.
You could climb it.
So
I mean, my shelves, each shelf will have at least like eight anchors that all are 100 pounds, so you can easily climb up it. Wait, next week I should have the shelves up behind me, the floating shelves from IKEA. Shout out to them. Floating shelves should be up behind me, and slowly get more decoration and get some stuff that look behind me, so it doesn't look like we're both in an internment camp.
At some point, I'll do something back here with this background. I don't know
what like wallpaper.
When that point will be. Nah, that's my like arch nemesis. I hate wallpaper.
I hate wallpaper
with
too.
the passion. My neighbors that sold their house last year, like or 2019, right before, around November, December, right before the whole pandemic hit, they were wondering, at least the lady was, older couple, they're in their 60s, 70s. They have a place down in the Villages.
Okay, a lot of people do.
They, they were selling their house here, not to move down to Florida full time, but to move to like another part of Ohio, like 20 minutes from here, to be closer to their daughter, so that they can spend time with their grandkids half the year, and the other half the year go back to the Villages. But anyway, she's like, I don't know why the house isn't selling. I went on Zillow when I saw their house. Like, I didn't even want to go inside. Like, it looks like it's still 1975 when they built this neighborhood. Yeah. That wallpaper is still up, all the gold trim and everything else. Ooh, and all those old school,
all that dark wood, all
that is still up. Yeah, you haven't done anything to it. Like, that's great, you maintain it, but who wants to buy that?
Nobody. That's too much work.
If I'll buy it and I'll underbid. Like, they weren't getting the price. You know, in today's market, they would. In today's market, people would be competing and be paying over the asking price, but not, late 2019.
It's crazy how that changed, right? Like,
it's all that wallpaper.
Yeah, it's crazy how that all changed with like the market and all that. Like a thing I was reading, I talked to you about. I don't know if we talked about it on the pod. A lot of it has to do with investment companies buying these houses. So they have people that go out and just buy these houses and bid it up, and then they take over that property. So almost everything's gonna, if you sell your house at this moment or you buy a house now, almost everything you buy is gonna be an HOA, right? Because everything's gonna be owned by a private corporation, and then they'll have probably a management company that handles the property. You know what I mean? If you happen to live in a house like that, so it's a totally different market than the one we first bought into, right? Because you bought houses before I did. But what we sell now, you get supreme top dollar, but everything else is so top dollar. Finding a house is going to be insane with the investment companies buying everything up at a crazy market rate.
Yeah, no. So I went through it when I was buying this house. This was 2018 when I purchased this house. So like late 2017, something 2018, going through looking at houses. There was one house that I really liked. It was in a part of town, a different side of town, Shaker Heights, where.
Is that where you got the advice from the realtor? Or the guiding, when they were like, oh, go, it's not a place I would recommend.
Around that time, where she's not supposed to guide you or whatever the term is. But that area was at least
leading.
The schools,
I think it's called leading.
And the neighborhood maybe wasn't like a certain demographic. Yeah, they actually were, but the schools for sure. Like, if you look at the schools, the school is like 60, maybe high 50s% white. And like 40% black and like 10% whatever else it was, Latino, Asian. Like, it was very, very, it was like almost 50-50 as far as like black and white. And then the neighborhood was around there too. Like, I mean, it was a lot more than the 95% that it is here. Like, it was probably, I don't know, we'll say 55-35, and then the rest was, others mixed in. But I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. Like, that's where I want to be. It was a suburb, but it was closer to like the city, and so you're gonna have more of that younger diversity, professionals and different, more diversity as opposed to like what you have in suburbs, right? The suburbs are, what's happened in the past and what's happening now. What is it? They call it white flight, where people just go to like rural areas and like they leave the cities or they leave certain neighborhoods. And they
fight or flight. And they chose flight.
One area. They call it white flight. I mean, that's the terminology for it that's happened throughout the history of this country. And so anyway, but I was looking at this house, and the the home inspector saw something in the basement. Like the basement was finished. It was a finished basement and it looked great. But he saw something in like the block windows that you can't see here because it's covered up behind me.
Right.
He's like, that wall, the wall behind this wall that they put up kind of looks like it's not right. It looks off a little bit. And houses in that part of the city, because they're a lot older. You know, this suburb built in the 70s. That side they were built in the 20s or 30s. So
Dungeon,
basements, dungeons.
Yeah.
Basements collapse. Like that's a thing that happens because they're 100 years old, these houses. So this one's 50 years old, 60 years old, whatever. It's fine. It's cool. 50 years old. That other neighborhood, the houses were built in the 20s. And so basements, you know, the foundations, which is the foundation of the house over here, because everyone has a basement,
right,
had to collapse if they haven't been upkept. So I was looking to do a like I talked to the realtor, to talk to the seller, whatever, to let me bring a structural engineer, like open up the beautifully finished basement or whatever, you know, and to test everything. Well, as I was looking through the paperwork to see who the seller actually was, I saw like it was almost like a game of shell companies, because I saw that it had someone's name, but then I kept looking through paperwork and I was like, wait, let me go through public records.
Yeah.
So I saw that it was this person who had purchased it from this person. It was like a lawyer who represented a firm, who represented like a holding company. It was crazy how they were trying to hide it, that essentially it wasn't a person. It was just a hedge fund or an investment company that bought this house and a ton of other houses around the area. They did a quick fix up and then they were trying to flip it. And that's, like you said, that's what's happening in this country. I mean, it's been happening, but a lot lately.
Yeah, in a super mass scale in the last like 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, in a huge scale, because that's how you get real estate investment. Like if you want to invest in actual solid real estate and not just REITs, like these companies are just buying up houses, and they can afford to pay whatever price they want and drive up the price because they're holding billions of dollars. And so that affects renters, that affects people that are buying a home.
You know what I just thought of?
First time or second or third time or whatever it is.
I just thought of the fact that like 6 to 8 months, right? We're 20 months into a pandemic, right? I think the financial markets and the investment companies, instead of they saw the market that people are going to be working from home, right? And they're like, oh, we're buying these properties and these office buildings and all that stuff. The future isn't there. It's going to be people working from home. So let's make the money regardless of where we need to go. We obviously have the money. They have billions upon billions of dollars so they could outbid everybody. So that's, they're gonna still own your job, right? Like, because 70% of businesses that were in an office building are gonna lose that office building, and they're gonna work from home and have smaller buildings and do like smaller meetings and and stuff like that. So that's really where the market. Dude, I just thought of that as you were talking. It was like just a huge light bulb went off. I was like, no, it makes sense for these investment, because the investment companies historically would have just bought the buildings, right? The office buildings, the floors, the room, anything. Then you had to pay that investment company. Now, those office buildings and those offices are now your home, so they're going to want to own that now too. That's insane, dude. That's insane. Am I crazy? Is that like a conspiracy?
Yeah, and people that think that the prices of homes.
Yeah, is that a conspiracy theory? Is that a conspiracy theory I just cracked up on this show, or because that feels legit to me? I mean, that just feels rational. But I guess that's what conspiracy theorists say, right?
It's possible. You are. It's possible. Yeah. But look, hey, people keep talking about, look, I'm gonna wait to buy, because if you've looked, like, prices of homes have shot up ridiculously over the last 12 to 18 months. Yep. And people are saying, well, I'll wait. Prices are going to drop. Prices aren't dropping. Like, they're not dropping. We just printed money out of thin air.
Yep.
What is it, like 70% of the money supply that we have in existence? I don't know if it's 70% or if it's 30% or the other way around. I think it's 70% of the money supply.
Sounds good.
Was printed in the last 2 years.
That's crazy.
Was printed in the last 2 years.
Mind blowing, bro.
And even if it was 30%, that's a ridiculous sum.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's.
So I'm 3%. I'm looking it up to like verify. Yeah, because 30%, but I think it's 70. So that devalues the dollar. Like, that means that your dollar is worthless. Like, we just printed money out of thin air. And again, we work in fiat currency, where like the value of that currency is whatever you think
Yeah.
if you give it value, that's what it's worth. There's nothing backing that currency.
Yep.
And so with more money circulating, like these prices just get overinflated. Your dollar buys you less. And
Supply and
all
demand,
that,
right?
and our wages aren't going up.
Yeah.
The wages aren't going up though, right? So prices are going up, the money supply is going up, but then your wages, what you make, are stagnant. Like it's not going up to compensate for all this BS that's happening around us.
Yeah. I got a buddy of mine that I work with, right? He just moved here from Puerto Rico, and he's been looking for a house for like 6 months, dude. Like, buy a house. He has like 4 kids back in Puerto Rico and his wife trying to buy a house and just can't do it because every time he's getting ready to.
Up.
Can you hear me? Yep.
So I hear you, but your video is you're frozen.
Yeah, we'll just keep going. So, like, he was trying to buy a house and he can't find one. Like, just because every time he goes, he's on the way to go see a house. There's 10 bids on it. The price went up. Or he's getting ready to go close on a house. The bid goes all the way up and somebody overpays. Like, oh, sorry, you thought you were about to get a house. It's gone. And again, it's become that. It's investment companies. Hey, before we move on, you said something earlier that I wanted to ask you because you're the only person I know that has gone to a diverse high school and then moved to like an all-white neighborhood, and you yourself being diverse and your family being diverse. There's like we went to Miami Springs Senior High, which was say 55, 35, and 10, right? Roughly. Like 55%, 55% Hispanic, say 35% Black-ish, and like 10% white, right? Who you would actually consider white, not just white passing. In your anecdotal way, right, of just like seeing it, how different is like the all-white school that your son goes to like the school we went to? Before we move on to that was just something that just popped into my head. It wasn't like in our rundown, but like in like a quick like 2-minute version of it. How different is it, man? Because I don't know. I mean, I got kicked out of high school and I never went back, and I don't have any kids. So
yeah, I mean, look, I ask Javi all the time, hey, how's everything going, or how are you being treated with what's that, how's, and maybe I have to temper this with the fact that like we're living in a woke society now, right? So more people try to be overdo things, like trying to compensate for some of the stuff that we've done in the past, but there's still people that feel a certain way about you and I and whatever, so but my experiences have been positive, right? Like Javi's been called to the principal's office before. I think I told you that because he smacked some kid down because this kid stepped on his shoes and pushed him.
Yep.
And then he
legit
open-handed smacked him down, and the principal called me. And he goes, hey, he's not in trouble. I'm not one of these people that preaches like, hey, turn the other cheek. Like if someone assaults you, defend yourself. Like that's not, they don't, I think that's not school policy, but he's like, he defended himself and didn't do anything wrong. From everything that everyone said, the teachers, the other students, we're supposed to preach nonviolence, but if someone hits you, you defend yourself. That's just 100%. Basic human nature.
Yes.
So he just wanted to tell me that. He's like, I wanted to let you know before he went home, and he tells you that he got into a fight, that you don't get upset with him or whatever. He's not in trouble. So, and then other, just other instances, interactions with teachers and how he's treated. I don't think, I mean, while there aren't that many Latino kids, there are other others ethnicities. A lot of Indian, a lot of Asian, Middle Eastern, like a lot of others that aren't Latino, and so it's good to see that. It's definitely good to see that. And then like I think we talked about this a few months ago, like the last names that I see, it sounds like I can't pronounce them. It sounds like there are a lot of consonants with no vowels in between them. A lot of like Eastern European sort of like ancestry and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
a lot of those countries are like very ethnic countries, and their histories, and so they might be like Caucasian, but like they've had, ethnic battles in their own country and fights. And so
that's why they come here.
Yeah. And so it's been, it hasn't been bad. Like interactions with teachers hasn't been bad. The way he's treated hasn't been bad. The way the students, which is always the concern, right? Not teachers and everyone else, but like, how are kids being taught at home by their parents who may hold certain prejudices? What are they being taught, and how is that coming out at school? Because that's what would concern me. I think the teachers would be professional enough, even if they held prejudiced views, to treat him fairly. And he hasn't had issues with that, and his friends are from all
walks of life.
Like one of his best friends. Well, it's just funny because his parents are former military, and like mixed family as well. Like one parent is white, the other parent is Thai.
Okay.
So it's and then his other so that's like one of his best friends, but he's got friends, Black, Middle Eastern, like he especially him, like he's more of a social person compared to my older son, and so he makes friends with everyone. Like he's like, if I don't like this, because he's like, but he doesn't have a reason to like not like people. Sometimes he does. He's like, I just kind of like don't want to hang out with them just for no reason. But I think after we get off the show, I'll talk to you about something else that I don't want to put out on the air.
No, 100%. I get you. I know there's stuff you can't say.
Something that, like, when he told me about it, I was like, oh, for real? I was like, and how are your friends? Like, how's everyone reacting to this in school? Like, it's like, no one cares. I'm like, that's good.
Okay,
that's good. I know I just threw something out there that makes no sense, and what I'm saying makes no sense.
I mean, because there's things you can't say.
But once I tell you, you'll just be like, oh yeah, when we went through high school 30 years ago, or 20 something years ago, that would have been a different story.
Yeah, we had some middle school, even we had some different kind of interactions that that nowadays would have been like totally different. It was just like a weird thing that, like, we're talking about something that only you and I know. So if you're listening to this is like a conversation that we can't have. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's the thing, right? Because Springs was like that. Like, Springs was the most overpopulated. I say it every time I talk to anyone.
6,500.
It had the most schools, the most people in that school, and at one point you said 65. I thought it was like closer to 5,000, but still.
I remember
the most overpopulated school by far in the country. I
remember vividly teachers wearing maroon shirts because our colors were, was it garnet and gold or maroon and gold, right? Because we were the Hawks. Garnet and gold because we were the Hawks, right? Golden Hawks. Stupid. There's no, whatever.
You keep freezing.
Yeah, you've been frozen the whole time. So we just the audios work, so we'll just keep pushing. So they wore a shirt that said, "I survived 6,500 plus students," when whatever year that was, when we had to do split shifts. So no, I remember those shirts. It was like 6,500 plus. Like, look, it could be 5,500 or 6,500, but I remember it being more than 5,000 straight up. It was like
too many students for a school that was built for 2,800.
Yeah, and they had to like build portables because like 2 other high schools were being under construction at the same time. Great planning, Miami-Dade County. Good job.
Right.
Was it Hialeah High in HML? Good job. Some kids went to.
So.
Yeah, so it was just stupid. But yeah, that was the thing like we hadn't even covered in the beginning. I just wanted to ask you that because as we were talking about it, like, oh, you have a perspective that not a lot of people have, right? Because most people we grew up with kind of stay in the same area, right? Like they stay in Miami, they stay in Florida. They meet around the same people. Their kids go to school, yada yada yada. So you having moved, I thought it was an interesting conversation. You know what's not an interesting conversation? Shout out to my terrible segues. What's not a great situation? Also, look, man, technical difficulties are going to be what they are living in the country. But appreciate your patience. Yeah, look, what I was saying was what's embarrassing and what's hard to watch now, especially the last couple of games, is the U.S. soccer team. Yeah, I call this soccer because it definitely isn't football. It's not what I'm used to watching. It's kind of what I've seen from them all year. Like they win games, but they haven't been. Look, like I'm not gonna break down like the tactics and all that stuff, and that's not like there's just a lack of feeling that they don't have, right? Like there's just that sixth sense on the pitch where you make that quick touch pass to get a guy, you know what I mean, breaking the lines that isn't happening, or it's a lot of like, no, you do it, no, you do it, no, you do it. It's not like a lot of combination play, right? There's no flick ahead, there's no over You know what I mean? Like no pass to break the line to dude. It was just that Canada game. I was like, yo,
Why is that? Why is that? Someone told me that U.S. soccer, the fact they called the U.S. soccer and not U.S. football was on the come up. Told me that it wasn't on the come up. Because I was like, yeah, it's been on the come up for about 25 years, and I was going on. And they have talent. They got guys that left the U.S. to play in Europe,
and
so that they can
Champions
develop,
League,
right?
Champions League champions.
Yeah, but they don't play well together. Like there's no
cohesion.
There's no cohesion there, and they don't have what these teams in Europe have, which is what I've always said. Like they have to leave the U.S. to go play in Europe to develop there because the MLS doesn't provide them that, and there's no sort of like a academy or funnel or anything to. Like it's the pay for play thing is what's has a hold in the U.S. Yes. Right? We've talked about this ad nauseum.
Yes.
Great word. Great term for you guys.
Yeah.
But
if you're gonna have to Google how to spell it for some people, but yeah.
They have it for football, they have it for basketball, where like you start
Optimus,
Pee-wee, Pop Warner, whatever, Optimus, and then you go into they have high schools that are run like colleges, prep schools. And before that, all these people running camps to develop quarterbacks, to develop certain skill positions. So even while you're in high school, you're developing. And the same thing for basketball, right? We have AAU, we have the academies, Oak Hill being the one that everyone knows, the one that I always bring up.
St. Vincent, St. Mary's.
Exactly. Yep. We don't have, if they do have that for,
I think so.
Football, soccer, I've never heard of it.
So I think what the issue is, like, because soccer being a lot of these sports that we talk about are purely American sports, right?
Yeah.
Football, basketball, the rest of the world's catching up with basketball, yada yada. Mm-hmm. Football is purely American. Soccer, football being the world sport that it is, we're way behind everybody, right? And I saw a Total Soccer show years ago when I've been listening to them for probably 4 or 5 years now. They did a breakdown of it, that a lot of coaches that coach aren't even like certified to be coaches, right? Like the people who coach you in Optimus aren't, you know what I mean? Like they took like a weekend course, and again, a lot of it again is pay to play, right? Like even the coaches have to do that. Coaches have to drive to this one town in Dallas or this one town in Texas or whatever, right? Like Ohio for that course. A lot of coaches can't take that time off because most of the time that's like, you know what I mean? They make it harder for people like this. So again, it becomes the people with the financial advantage to do that. But I'm trying to be cautious, right? Because I don't like always, but it feels almost classist. You know what I mean? Like like it's almost like a lacrosse. You know what I mean? Like it's a thing that because everybody can pick up a basketball, everybody can get a football. You know what I mean? And like that stuff is sponsored. You get like sponsors for it. That doesn't happen or isn't looked at as cool in the inner cities or even the suburbs, right? Because people think of the suburbs like everybody just has money. There's people in the suburbs that are paying shit week to week, living month to month, paycheck to paycheck. It happens across the country. So those people don't have the money to put their kids in soccer, right? Or they think soccer is so you're not getting the best athletes. So then you add in the pay for play that lessens the athlete, right? Lessens the amount of people that it could be. So it's
right.
And then look, you got the Christian Pulisic's and Tyler Adams and Weston McKinney's and Gio Reyna's and all that stuff. Gio Reyna's a generation. Like his dad played. Like Claudio Reyna played. Like I saw him play, and now I see his son
he grew up in like Britain, right? I think.
Yeah, he grew up in like he had a choice where like he could have picked like 4 different countries because his dad was also like Argentinian, so he could have or something like you know what I mean. So thank God he didn't. But like it's so many different things. But like just watching it, there's no. And it doesn't matter who the coach is, but these are also world-class players, right? Like a lot of the U.S., this isn't MLS players. These are world players like Zach Steffen plays for Man City. Ethan Horvath plays for Club Brugge. The only like MLS player I think is Miles Robinson and Matt Turner. But like there's just like a clear hesitancy across the board that other teams, Canada is not more talented than the U.S., right? They got Alphonso Davies, one of the best left back in the world, probably, right? And he's pure speed for Bayern Munich, monster Champions League champion. The other guys, I can't tell you where they play. Couldn't tell you. They probably just play in Canada, not even in the MLS, like some local futbolito. You know what I mean? And I just figure it out.
Futbolito.
Yeah, but dude,
That's where I would play.
There's an intensity that other countries play with, and you have poor countries like Honduras and El Salvador, and like even Panama to an extent, right? Like they don't have the money that the U.S. has to be able to put into these games, but like there's just a passion that they play with that the U.S. just doesn't. Like that's one sport where you can't show up with arrogance. Arrogance, the U.S. pick yourself up by the bootstraps doesn't happen here. Like that doesn't. If you don't have the tactics and you don't have the touches, it doesn't matter that you believe you're gonna win. No, that's not. It's say the chain all you want. It doesn't matter. Like
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work if you don't have the tactics. If your only setup is pass back and forth from the center backs, what are we doing here?
It's frustrating. It just doesn't. It seems like they don't have any real tactics. And I think the men's side peaked. Was it 2006? I think they were in the quarters with Donovan and Dempsey and all those guys that had played together.
And this team is more talented. That was
supposed to be like they were the peak of men's soccer here in the U.S. I was getting close to start calling it football. I was so close. I wanted to.
Yeah, football's the world sport.
And they were supposed to pass the torch to these guys. I mean, Dempsey stayed on for a while. Donovan stayed on for a while. A lot of really young guys that was like their one sport. It was Dempsey. It was Donovan. It was there was a lot of I can't even recall the names. Beasley. Holy cow, Beasley was
Marcus Beasley. Yeah.
And well, who is the guy's name? He gets a lot of crap to coach his son, but he wasn't the most talented guy, but he was. I don't want to say the most consistent. I mean, but he was consistently mediocre. Maybe, but he was consistent. He showed up. It was a shaved head dude. I can't remember his name. He played I think he played midfield.
Michael Bradley.
Yeah,
why
Bradley.
Would you bring him up? I
know how much you love Bradley.
Right under Paul Pierce as my most hated.
Yeah, I know.
Hate that guy. Even with his half field goal. But
I give them credit, and they're supposed to be passing the torch. And a lot of these guys that are more talented, I mean, so much so that they're starting in top flight teams in Europe, but they can't put it together here. And a lot of that has to do with inconsistencies at the top from the federation and coaching and switching directions, and also not having like a real feeder program where these kids are funneled into some kind of actual training where they come together and train together, even if they play for other teams. And I think that all comes down to that whole pay to play concept. It just kind of ruins
a lot of the sport. A lot of like their best player on the pitch, their most talented player is Christian Pulisic. Like we're not even debating or discussing that, right? Like that's a given. But the biggest issue that their best player was a guy that never played in the under 17s, under 18s, under 20. Brandon Aronson, kid plays for a team in I think Switzerland, balling out there. He was the one that scored the goal that got it to 1-0, and 2 minutes later we gave up the goal. But he actually did something. Like he sprinted, and Alan Moreno from ESPN, he was like, God forbid they sprint. But like, and I rewatched some of the game like on fast forward earlier today on my phone because I had a YouTube DVR, and I looked at it. I was like, holy like that's legit the only time somebody sprinted. That unless it was somebody tracing back like a right or left back or a wing back because they play like a 3-5-2, right? Unless it was them, there was no sprinting. Like there was no threat to break the line. And if there was a couple sprints early in the game, those center backs or those midfielders never picked them out. Never tested that back line or that, that offsides. Never once. Like I don't remember them even getting, like sometimes you have to get called for an offside to let people know, like, hey, we're about to make this run, son. Like, and they might not be there, but like that'll push the center backs back. And then that'll bring, like, this is me that knows very limited tactics, that had to listen to Total Soccer Show and talk to you and talk to Danny and talk to them to like really like immerse myself in the tactics of like the difference between a 3-5-2 and a 4-2-3-1 and like all these different things. Like even I know that. Like if you never once get tested get called for an offside, then you're never making that run to break the line.
It's just funny you mentioned that because I was watching a game this week and earlier this week, and that's exactly what they're. It was European. It was European football, and the guy was offside, and the announcers, the commentators said the very same thing. He's like, yeah, that's like his third or fourth time being called offside, but one of these he's gonna catch the defenders where he's gonna have them, and he's gonna have the timing right. He's gonna have the timing right, and so I mean that's part of it, right? You're making runs because you're expecting a through ball from your playmaker, and
they're a little late,
so I have to see that. I have to see the actual game so I can actually critique it instead of just talking, BS about the men's game.
Look,
but I've seen enough of their games that it gets frustrating to watch them play because of what you just said.
It's so slow, dude. It's so slow and so indecisive. And these players, I've seen these players play at club level. They're not that indecisive, right? Like it has to be like a methodical teaching. And again, it doesn't matter who I think it doesn't matter who the manager is. Like, unless they get somebody from Europe, like I'm a big fan of Jesse Marsch from RB Leipzig. I think he's doing great stuff over there in the I think that's Leipzig's the German league. Dude, like they got to do something. Like it just, I'm not saying fire him, but I've never been a fan of Greg Berhalter. Never won the MLS Cup. I went to the couple playoffs a couple times. He was the brother of the guy who was in charge of the search. You know what I mean? So like that always tainted me on it. The fact that it took him 13 months, not going to retrace all this. And it's not all on him, but there's just a lack of leadership from the top down. And you could see it. There's nobody like, hey man, look, nobody to gather them up like, yo, they just scored a goal. If we don't score right now and answer, we're really behind the 8 ball. We got 2 points in 2 games against 2 teams that we should have beaten.
Right.
That should not have. There wasn't any of that. There wasn't any like, let's get one for the Gipper. You know what I mean? Not to say like that helps, but like there isn't that like, yo man, time the F up. What are we doing here? There was just a lot of the like, oh, pass the ball to you, pass the ball to me. Then it took 25 minutes to get the subs in. That's on Berhalter.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's gotta be coaching. That's the tactics and the strategies and that he institutes and how they want to play the game. I'm not so sure that's all on the players because they do play a certain way in Europe and then they come together and they don't play that way. So it's not. Maybe it's because obviously they don't have that same familiarity as they do with your club teams because that's who they play with all the time. But that happens to everyone. So it's got to come down to tactics and strategy and how they decide to use these players. And
just not using them right.
The U.S. has never been, regardless of coach. I think it's just the way that they play football here. It's always been that. It's never been.
They play soccer.
They play soccer. They don't play football. They play soccer.
So perfectly summarized.
That's a perfect. Thank you for summarizing it.
Perfect summary for this segment as we move on to the next. The rest of the world plays football. We play soccer.
Yeah,
that's it. It's just as easy as that. It's just, oh man. What else you got, JV? Before we wrap it up,
man, I caught some UFC on ESPN Plus.
Oh, Patty Pimblett.
It was like
terrible
Patty
haircut.
Pimblett.
Yeah.
Terrible haircut. I mean, obviously the guy can pack a punch. He reminds me of Connor, right?
Yes.
Just cocky, brash, and trash talking. And good that he's got a chin because they were right. The announcers were right. He got caught a couple of times because he's just out there with his chin up. But the guy that hit him, he wasn't able to drop him. He looks like he's a brawler. Like that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe when he gets in there and fights someone, because I haven't seen any of his fights outside. I saw highlights. His first time in the UFC.
Yeah, I saw highlights. So
when he fights someone that's got that other skill set that matches, that can brawl just like him, and then has
KO power.
These other skill sets, then maybe you'll see him. Because it didn't seem to me, and he didn't have a chance to show it, but he didn't look polished. He didn't look polished.
Sorry to cut you. He has good jiu-jitsu. I saw that. He can
punch for sure.
Yeah, he can punch. I saw like they showed the highlights because they're like, you know how they do like, hey, here's who's coming next. Or like how they always release the free fight of a big fight the week before.
Right.
They did that. They did like a compilation, and he caught a couple people with like a standing triangle choke, arm bars, different like knee bars. He has really good jiu-jitsu.
He was jacked. Like he looked so much bigger than that guy he was fighting.
Yeah, and he definitely grew because like his first fight it was at like 135 because he looked really small, and as he got older, Like he went up in weight, which is natural, right? Like it's gonna, as you get older, it's harder to lose weight, so you naturally don't want to always kill yourself to 135. Yeah, dude, like I wanted to ask you because you did see it, right? I didn't watch
Roundtree. That's what I wanted you to go watch.
No, I saw it.
I couldn't stop watching that. I was just like, rewind. Let's go back.
What is wrong with you? That bro?
Was and what's crazy is that when I saw him throw that kick and I was like, whoa, what is this dude trying to do? Because I've seen other fighters do it. I'm like, what? This dude's trying to end someone's career. Yeah. And like 10 seconds later, he threw it again and caught him. And I was like, no, this son of a
bound to happen.
It's legal. It's legal. It's it's a dirty. I think people look at it as a dirty thing.
It's not dirty though. It's not dirty.
Well, it kind of is. I mean, it's legal. You should know it's coming. Especially, it's bro. That's not like I'm gonna knock you out. That's like you're done. Your career could be over. ACL, MCL, all the L's.
All the L's.
Take the L along with all the tears. Oh man.
Hey,
you gave him all the L's. Take it.
You took all the L's.
I couldn't stop watching that.
Took all the ligaments home with him. Like, yo, man, you can take the L home with you. Hey, but look, I think the most shocking, besides that leg, oh my, it was gruesome. Bent his leg back and like I went like back into the side. Ugh. I saw like the overhead view. I didn't want to see the replay. I was like, nah, I'm good, son. But dude, Darren Till lost. It down for you. No, I'm good. Darren Till lost again, man.
Yeah.
To the most uninspiring person that
Derek Brunson.
Derek Brunson, bro. Dude, like if you could draw the picture of the least amount of charisma that tries to be cool, it's Derek Brunson, right? Again, Derek Brunson, if you ever see this, I apologize. You're the man. You could knock my head off 100%. All this is true, but you don't inspire anybody wanting to watch you. They put your fight at 4:00 in the afternoon on college football Saturday.
I mean, that's how much. That's what they think about you.
On the opening weekend.
That's what they think about
on the
you.
Opening weekend.
Yeah. Hey,
I'd rather
yeah. Let's put you on. You'll get to fight. You'll be
headliner
on the main card. You'll be a headliner on opening day of college football.
Yeah.
Who's gonna watch you, dude?
With
like
fans
me and you.
States.
We're the only two people that watch that fight.
I watched Tulane versus Oklahoma. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
and to be honest, I didn't watch it live. I caught it on the replay on the ESPN Plus app.
Yeah, as you should, because why would you watch UFC Derek Brunson versus Darren Till? Don't care about either one of them. Look, we don't have to cover college football. Just say, yes, Miami got spanked by 31 points by the best team that's ever been created. I said this in a group chat. I feel like Alabama just clones them, bro. Because it doesn't matter who's in there. They never have a drop-off in talent in any position. It's incredible, man.
I mean, they have starters right now as backups. They have NFL starters as backups, and they'll be starters
and
next
backups,
year when their current crop of people. Yeah. It's that's all that Saban or anyone has to say to these parents or anyone that wants. They don't even have to say it anymore. They're like, just look at our track record. Look at the people we sent to the NFL. Look at the championships. That's nice. College, championships are nice in college. Life. But you're not coming to college to win the college football playoff. You're coming because you want that next level. Yep. And look at all the people we get to the league to the next level.
Look at all the Heisman winners we have.
Yeah.
Look at all the starting quarterbacks we have in the NFL right now. Look at like Jalen Hurts.
Last 15, 20 years.
Jalen Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones. You can go. You could go down the line of people who killed it at Alabama. Like it's unfair, dude. It's not unfair, but I will say what is a little crazy, and I don't understand how this happened. 2 former NFL head coaches that were in the NFL last year are assistants on his staff. Like, don't you feel a little beta? Like you were an NFL head coach, and now you're an assistant to a college head. You definitely can never be the man again, right? Like you out here Charlie Weiss.
But look, that's like but who are they? I don't even know who they are.
Bill O'Brien, their offensive coordinator. Bill O'Brien.
Didn't he coach the Jets?
No, he coached
some point. Houston. No, he coached Houston.
With Deshaun Watson, right? For like 5 years, 6 years. And Doug Marrone, that was the Jacksonville head coach up until last year.
Yeah.
Like he's a former NFL head coach a year ago, is the offensive line coach at Alabama.
But look,
how do you beat that?
But they're you don't. That's why they're like, look, exactly this. Like, this is what we got. Saban, who's I can't stand the dude, but like, hey, we got the greatest college coach
of all time, right? 100%.
And now, and our other coaches are former NFL head coaches, like just recently former NFL head coaches. Mm-hmm. This guy was a 5-year head coach, and then how do you beat that? You don't. Like that's you go to these families and you say, do you want to go to the league? This is who we got. We got the greatest college coach, and we got NFL coaches, head coaches as our line coach and our our other assistant coaches, coordinators, and they'll get you to the league. They know what it takes to get there.
Mm-hmm. They coached it up.
That's it. What else do you need?
You win every.
They don't care about college championships.
No.
Yeah, like the NCAA, winning the college football playoff is just like a byproduct of going to Alabama. Like, oh, that's nice. We got another one, but it's the league where they want to get to, and they have a beautiful system. It's amazing. Perfectly built, and I don't see that. Whenever Saban leaves, whoever they plug in, they just got to keep it going. I don't know who's going to substitute that dude, but I don't see him leaving anytime soon. That's a drug, right? That's a drug. He can't leave that. He's like, I want more. I want more of this.
Dude, that is the highest level of
getting paid.
That's the high. Yeah, he's the highest paid state employee in Alabama. Because he's a state employee, right? Because it's a state school. It's not a private school. It's a state school. He's the highest paid state employee.
Yeah, it's a public school.
That's what. Look, I could hate on Alabama, and but you have to respect greatness, right? Like you have to respect that level of just amazingness. Because I watched a couple. Like I watched the Georgia Clemson game. I watched a little bit of the FSU Notre Dame. Alabama was so much better than everybody else. Like on day one, game one, snap one, they were so much, but like in every, it wasn't just because they were playing Miami. Yes, Miami hasn't been good in 20 years, yada, yada, yada.
Miami's not a real 14 team either.
Miami's not a 14. Ranked. At best, they're 25th. At best. And they're coming off of they gave up 700 rushing yards in one game last year. Let's not front out here like Miami's better, right? Like they have most of the same.
But it helps Alabama's strength of schedule.
And that's another one, right? Like Danny sent me this. Now Nick Saban has the most college football wins over a top 25 team. So that gives them that in game one. So that's over, right?
Right.
Alabama was incredible. 100 and they were so much better than Miami. Thank you for taking the foot off the gas in the fourth quarter. I appreciate not putting 65 points up on the board. You could have done it. But they're so much better than everybody else. It's going to be a walkthrough. Like, unless, like, it's incredible what he's built there. We'll never see.
What surprises me is who does it. Not Clemson. I mean, Dabo built something in Clemson out of, like, nowhere.
Yeah.
Ohio State, because they've had coaches rotating in and out. They had Tressel, and then they had a couple other guys. Of course, they had Urban Meyer. But before Tressel was John Cooper. All these coaches that rotated in and out. But like just that brand, the Ohio State brand, they seem to
Ohio
get
State,
people because that's they make a big. It's the Ohio State. I'm like, whatever, dude. That brand attracts people, and it's and also like if you go back and look at Ohio State, go back at least since I've been watching them since like the mid 90s, they were putting people in the league. Eddie George, Sean Springs, like they put people in the league as well, not at the same rate as Alabama, but somehow Ohio State playing all these big, corn-fed 350 pounders on the line. Like they can do anything they want as well. Like that's the only team. They might not be as athletic on the other skill positions, and even that's
where it comes to kill them.
That's where Alabama kills everybody. But like Clemson that's where they get destroyed. Clemson never has these big guys on the line, both offensive and defensive. They have skill players, but they don't have anyone to protect their quarterback.
They got killed. Yeah, they got killed this past game.
Georgia put it on them, and I mean Georgia couldn't put up any points on the board either. But
I didn't like
defense dominated.
I wasn't a fan of Kirby Smart after the game saying like you're either elite or you're not. You won one game, bro. Let's settle down there, homie. When you play elite, that's Alabama. You've yet to beat them. Like
you won one game against a guy who like
you're not. You didn't beat Trevor Lawrence. You didn't beat Trevor Lawrence elite. Like you bought the guy who started.
It wasn't Deshaun Watson elite. Come on,
let's
relax.
Let's settle. Don't talk big talk when you're doing a day one starter. Let's chill out there, bro.
It wasn't even Taj Boyd elite. Okay, from like the early 2010s or whatever.
When they had those ugly.
He didn't. That was he's the one that led it up right before Deshaun Watson. Like that was. I thought they were gonna pull off a championship. Yeah, and they got close. but he was like, I think the beginning of that dynasty.
They had that one guy that like ended up transferring, that ended up doing nothing, that went to like UNC Kelly or something, like the one that like looked identical to Deshaun Watson, and ended up transferring because of Trevor Lawrence. Can't remember the guy's name. Never turned into anything.
I think it was Kelly. Yeah, something
Kelly. Yeah, dude, it's just I respect Alabama, man. I can't even look. They spanked us. I can't even talk smack about him, but what he's done there is phenomenal, and I respect the hell out of whatever he's built. But I think he clones them, because every running back looks the same, every linebacker looks the same, every defensive tackle, every single one looks exactly the same. So it's crazy.
Yeah. I do want to mention Florida State. I watched the second half of that game. I watched it right where, as soon as I started watching, I think it was about to get ugly, because FSU was up 20-17, and by that point there had been 4 lead changes between them and Notre Dame.
Okay.
And then the Irish scored 3 touchdowns in the third quarter in about 8 minutes.
Eesh.
Florida State's coach, for whatever reason, decided to go for it on 4th and 2 on his own 33-yard line with like 6.5 minutes left in the third quarter.
Stupid call.
I don't know what he was thinking, but that led to obviously turn it over on downs.
Quick touchdown.
Notre Dame scored immediately, and they ended up going to overtime. Notre Dame is not a 9th ranked team. They played well. They have a tight end that looks like Gronk, like he's playing out there like a man against boys.
Or 27.
Yeah, 87.
87, yeah.
No, I think it's 87. Big dude.
Yeah, fast too.
But Florida State, once they put in that was the big story of the weekend for me. Mackenzie Milton, played for UCF.
Yep.
He also had all the L's destroyed. His knee, when he played back in 2018, got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
They thought he was never going to walk again.
Yeah.
I know how much you love knee injuries, man. That's why I love talking about it, because I love watching the destruction. I went back and watched that video, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that was worse than that UFC fight. That was much worse than that UFC fight. I saw that and I was like, oh my God, that dude's never gonna walk again, which is what doctors told him. Like, you might not walk without a limp. You're
like
lucky.
Alex Smith.
Yeah, like Alex Smith.
Yeah.
And he went in and 4 plays, let him I don't know if they scored a touchdown. I think they did, but I was like, why didn't you start this dude from the beginning?
Yeah.
Like, it's not even a question. Like, I remember when I started watching the game at the beginning of the third quarter, or early on in the third quarter, it was still Travis there, and the announcers were talking about he's playing fearless. He doesn't have that fear he had. I don't know what they were referring to, because I cut in the in the middle of the conversation.
Right.
But he looked like he was afraid. He wasn't throwing the ball. It was either quarterback keeps or run. It was very predictable. Kind of like Clemson, which they weren't throwing. They weren't doing a lot. They were just running the same stuff over and over.
Right.
Florida State was running the same thing with Travis, and this dude comes in, Milton, because Travis, I think, took a hit to the head, so they had to take him out.
Yeah.
And he just stayed in for the drive, and then he came in, and for the next drive, they're like, "Now we're going to stick with this dude."
Yeah.
And I was just thinking,
he was a great quarterback.
What happened? He was. I remember watching. He's the one that led UCF to like a 24, 25, like 25-0 or 24-0 record, like straight 24 straight wins. Yeah. When the discussion was when they were talking about having UCF play, these big schools, or play for the playoff, or make it into, make it college for the national championship talk.
Yep.
Right. But because they weren't a major school, they were always like number 7, number 8, or whatever it was. So they were
because they don't play anybody. Yeah. They don't play anybody ranked. Yeah.
But I mean, they weren't playing nobody schools either. Like, they weren't playing like Alabama does, where they go play somebody in like division -5 to put up 108 points on. Everyone does that. They were just playing the schools in their conference.
Yeah.
And so I remember this dude was balling out. And when I saw him play Saturday night or Sunday night, I was like, what's going on here? Like,
what would you
how did you not start this guy?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been an overtime game.
They would have lost.
There's no question in my mind that Florida State, I think, might have blown the doors off of them for sure. Yeah,
that's bad coaching, right?
He seemed so confident. He seemed like he belonged. The moment wasn't big for him, because he had been in that moment before. Yep. The only moment would have been like, is my knee okay? But there was no hesitation in how he ran the ball. Quarterback keeps. He was fast. He was decisive. Going through his progressions, like you would see that. Whereas Travis wasn't that. The quarter and a half I thought.
So I saw the first 2 drives, the first drive of each team, and Notre Dame went right down the field, scored on their
Yeah.
first drive. Then when Florida State had it, that I was like, oh, Florida State's gonna get destroyed just because of the quarterback. Like he looks rail thin,
Yeah.
terrified.
Yeah.
You could see, I was like, oh, they're about to lose 68-0. This is about to be. That's why I just turned the game off. I was like, I don't even want to worry about this. So you text me like, oh man, this is Notre Dame Florida State game. And then I get the alert from Bleacher Report. Mackenzie Milton in the game almost brings them back. I was like, what the hell did I just miss? Like I knew he was there, but I was like, oh, he must still be hurt. Must not be clear to play if they're playing this.
He's been cleared.
There's no name, no nonsense. Who is this kid? You know what I mean? Just look terrified out there, deer in the headlights. I was like, that's not coaching. Like you cost them the game that could have put you in the top 15 ranking because you beat a number 19, right?
Right.
And then you completely change the trajectory of your season. Now you're 0-1 when you're like, oh, let's hope Mackenzie Milton holds up. You know what I mean? Like it's every game matters in college football.
Yeah. But you know what? Now Clemson's 0-1 as well. You know, they're both in the ACC. So
it's on a conference loss. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not. I think Notre Dame is ACC, right? They're not independent anymore.
No, I thought they were ACC just for the 1 year.
Oh, where I don't know, but they go back. They follow the money, so wherever the money is, that's where
wherever
NBC
says. Yeah, I think they were. Yeah, I think they were just ACC for 1 year because they like pick and choose if they play ACC teams or if they don't, but they still play Big Ten. So it's like all over the place. Yeah, man. I got nothing else. You got something else for the people?
No, man. No, I'm about to finish this Korean iced coffee. There's nothing but ice left, actually.
Finish my glass. In summary, I hate base sports, and we play soccer, and everybody else plays football. Till next time, guys. Peace. You gonna do your weird peace sign? Thank you.
Peace.
There it is.
It's not weird. It's